Hey, everybody. I am here with Mike Belfor, legendary mortgage originator out of the Bay Area. We're just teasing each other about legendary status. But Michael just absolutely knocked it out of the park with the strike rate strategy. Now, what I find interesting about this is something that we've heard Tim Brahim, Barry Habib talk about. I heard him talk about this in 2023. And Mike is a new member of the Loan Atlas. What I think so awesome about what he did is that he not only heard them talk about it, but he immediately went out and implemented it in his business. Mike, let me ask you, what was the result of this knowledge that you learned around the strike rate strategy?
Well, it's funny. It's the strike rate strategy I was looking at since last year and the year before. I didn't really implement in the way I should have, probably in August and September of last year. I think a lot of us are guilty of that. So the idea was, what can we do to get better? In January, my company got an agreement with the Loan Atlas, and I stepped on with the Loan Atlas, and I'm like, all right, well, this is a slower time of year. And going back to a biblical book, if I may, the book of Ecclesiastes talks about, if the axe is dull and one doesn't sharpen the edge, then you must use more strength. But wisdom brings success. So the idea is, what can I do to be wiser? And it was not just gaining, watching, taking the quizzes, but gleaning the information that I learned from the Loan Atlas. And it allowed me to understand, okay, how could you apply this strike rate in a really good, realistic manner? So I started to reach out to all these clients that bought homes with me. We have over a couple of hundred of them in the last couple of years. Let's get you set up. This is what we need. We're going to get you started and kind of apply those steps that was taught. And then when that time came in late February, when we saw that bond market shift a bit, we're able to capitalize on that, locking up 17 of them. Others are still gathering information. They're still sending us stuff today because we know that this market is ebbs and flows. It's green light. Awesome. 3 days. Then it's red light for 40 some odd days. And it's
Right.
because we're in a volatile market, something I haven't seen in my 22-year career. So the idea is, what can we do to be ready? We are ready for those now that sent this documentation. So hopefully we get in their 17 or more. But we gleaned that information, and it worked out incredibly well.
Kudos for you for not only learning the information around the strike rate, but actually calling the clients, setting the strike rate, taking the time to do it. You're essentially planting seeds with the assumption that later those seeds are going to turn into a bountiful crop. And so many people just get stuck that I'm not willing or not, I don't feel confident making those phone calls until the rate is there. And what Tim taught you and I was, there's not enough time. If you wait until the rate is there, there's not enough time to make the calls. You got to make the calls when the rate's not there. So speak to that just a little bit and what your experience was with that.
Well, I failed, and it's okay to acknowledge failure because you always refine the process. And that's one thing you have to be realistic with, is like reflect. And I think taking self-reflection time is huge. One thing I'm huge on is journaling. In my quiet time, I like to read, pray, but also what I do right, what I do wrong, what I could do better. In all walks of life, because in the Loan Atlas, we talk about balance and family and things that we're actually fearful of, even, and going to those places to just be better and be mindful. That was something I really appreciated as well, off topic. But going back to that, I realized I failed. And I felt bad. I ended up apologizing, being clear with my clients. Hey, I'm sorry. I could have taken advantage of this for you. And I didn't. We thought things were going to get better. We had employment numbers come out through the weekend, a month before the election or so. I think it was 45 days. I think it was like September, October, right? Right before the election we had in 2024. And
Yeah.
things just shifted that weekend out of control. And we saw, if you're watching futures at all with the 10-year bond, things got really out of control. And so it went away, and people are just texting me, when things get back, will you be ready? And then, absolutely I will be. And I had one client in particular that I'll never forget. She's actually a very good friend of mine. She's like, will you continue to watch things? And this is really what I want. This is where I see the savings, as we discussed. If it hits that, will you jump on it? And that was the first one I did. And I started to do a bunch more after that. And it was because of what Loan Atlas was teaching. So you have to not just be ready, but have your clients know and trust you. Now, if you have to get their permission to run credit, that's the biggest thing in today's market. Of course, talking to them, saying, hey, when it happens, I may have to run your credit to actually lock this thing. Are you okay with that? Right? Because you want to make sure that you are compliant and maintain their permission. And so that's one thing we just started to do. We got set up, and again, it just worked out. I mean, and looking back in hindsight, shot myself in the foot. Wasn't ready there in September and August. However,
Yeah.
this time we were, and people are stoked. We've gotten rave reviews from it, and it really worked out.
Fantastic. And I mean, you're in the Bay Area, right?
I'm actually between Northern California and Southern California, so I go back between Sonoma County and Orange County.
So what's your average loan size ballpark?
Gosh, I mean, I do everything in California. Jokingly, I even did a very small VA loan for $100,000 in 29 Palms.
What?
But I would say 6 to 650.
Yeah, so you can do the math, everybody. 17 transactions from this strike rate strategy on 650, $700,000 loan amount. That's not a bad win for implementing one strategy that you learned inside of the loan atlas. Let's get tactical here, Michael. So you
Yeah,
learned the strategy. Well, first you missed the opportunity late last year, and you took ownership. Like, whoops, that was a missed opportunity. Not
right.
going to let that happen again. You put the
Yeah.
strategy in place. What was your process around this? In other words, did you dedicate an hour a day to calling clients? How did you tactically move through the phone calls or the outreach to set those strike rates?
I'm old school. I started 22 years ago, and I just doing HELOCs for Wells Fargo in San Diego. So I'm used to making dials. I call 50 people a day, no matter what, Monday through Friday. So just shift the dials and just shift the dials to past prospects, or you should be calling past prospects anyway. And that's one thing that the Loan Atlas really teaches and preaches upon, making sure you're in touch with your sphere. I'm working on a brochure because Tim said to do it. Cool. I'm going to do a book just like him. And I stole some of those ideas he shared. And I'm really trying to apply these things as I can because there's things that I'm not doing that I should be doing. And so I'm calling my past clients already. I ran a spreadsheet to see who had what rate and where they're at. I have a system with MBS Highway, which has a strike rate system. I like theirs, candidly, and forgive my company more than our own. MBS Highway has a very easy system. Barry and his team, of course, always great, did something great there. So I'm utilizing that to watch strike rates, and then I'm just calling them. And I'll call them, I'll text them, I'll email them. So it's always the threes, right? Because sometimes it's a call. We always return voicemails. We send a text, it's a little bit more urgent. You send the email, they're ready. I had my assistant ready to catch stuff so we knew when things were coming in to set that file up first. That way we know the ones that are sending stuff, we're going to get them set and then go back to the others. That's essentially how we set it up.
Mike, I was the same way as you. I had the same rule. I was gonna dial and at least 50 people every day, Monday through Friday. In fact, we had a prospecting time, we called it, blocked out in our calendar
Yeah.
from 8:30 a.m. and it grew till like 11:30 because we were having so much success with it. We just kept, well, 1 hour is not enough. 2 hours, let's go to 3 hours.
Yeah.
And we did that religiously for the last 12 years of my career. And I never had a bad month. Like, some months were down, but I never had that situation where I closed 10 loans and then I closed 0 loans. I closed
Yeah.
6 loans and then I closed 1 loan. Like,
Yeah.
I always had consistently high business when I disciplined myself to those outbound calls. So that's something we definitely have in common. What did you say? Like, give me just a little bit of taste of the scripting, especially maybe if somebody has not had any contact with that client since the day they closed, maybe a year or two ago.
If it was something like that, so my clients hear from me all the time, because I just continuously follow up. I do the ABC calls. I learned from a guy named Andy Zeman, where it's just like you go through the alphabet of their names and just kind of continue that. I send Tim's emails or voicemails, pardon, on Christmas. And I did one on New Year's and Thanksgiving because he taught that to us. And then I'm going to do 4th of July too. So they hear from me a lot. If it wasn't someone I heard from, it'd be simple. Like, hey, Josh, it's Mike Belfor. American Pacific Mortgage, just checking in with you. And it's been a while, and forgive me for that. I want to ask you for forgiveness, but I miss bugging you. How are you? Can I bug you, bro? Because when you're an active buyer with me, I call you every Monday. It's
Right.
what I do, or I'll text you every Monday. I stay in contact with my active pre-approved clients every single week. So I'll just I miss bugging you, dude. How are you? And there's shoot the breeze. These rates, I'm not going to do that. I'm like, well, what do you have? Okay, is that where you're at? Because I'm looking at your loan here. What if we set up a strike rate to you at this rate? And if we set it at this rate from the rate you currently have, you'd be saving X number of dollars. Now, is there anything you'd consider consolidating? Maybe, see if they have debt. A lot of people, as you know, we have so many folks in today's market that have way more credit card debt that can't be paid off simply within 2 to 3 months. And I'm a Dave Ramsey guy. I've coached it at my church, Financial Peace University. I'm a huge person for that. But what can we do to maybe turn that bad debt into not as bad debt? Because I think all debt is bad, right? In a lot of ways. So what can we do to help leverage that and have that conversation? That's really how it starts off. It's all conversational because every person's different, but it just starts out with, I'm sorry I haven't reached out to you. And that's something also in the loan atlas, in the trainings. If you watch those videos, what about
Right.
those clients you haven't kept in contact with? Just apologize and say, I miss bugging you, dude. How are you? And just build that rapport back up. And then from there on out, always keep in touch with them. Like, I mean, fix that problem then, and then, make sure you keep in touch with them thereafter.
It's great. What I'm hearing from you is just be yourself
Yeah.
and pick up the phone and call. If you've got some sort of reluctance, it's a story going on in your head. One of the things that Tim says all the time is, trust me, they're not sitting there looking at their phone, wondering why you haven't called them. That's never gone through their mind. That's only going through your mind. I should have called Mike last year, but I didn't. Now I don't want to call him today. Get over it. Call him. Be yourself. I can feel your personality come through the phone when you talk, and you're a warm guy. Like, I immediately want to engage you in a conversation. So I think there's a part of that of just being authentic that works for you as well, Mike.
Just love people, man. That's it. I mean, it comes down to just breaking down the barriers, build bridges, build communication, keep open lines of communication, and let know people they're there. Like, if they get something in the mail and you're curious on what it is, you're there to answer that question for them. You're a resource. And if you're not the person who knows exactly how to do something, then you have the plumber friend. You have somebody else that you could refer them to. And it goes back to the old Buffini thought. Joe talked about this. His mayor campaign was making sure that you were the resource. If they're in your sphere, you're the resource. They're the ones that can talk to you. Do you have a guy or do you know a guy? Right. And that's the idea behind it. And I've always kind of been that way. It's just, what can I do to help people? Because at the end of the day, we're helping people. And if they did buy a house through you and you were their loan officer and they had a great experience, chances are that's the largest financial purchase that they'll make, or maybe the first largest financial purchase, as we always heard. So if they're like that, then if you think about it, build that relationship, build that rapport, continue that rapport. They trusted you with that. They're going to want to hear from you if they haven't, right? So I think that's the one thing of not being fearful, but knowing that they're expecting your call or hoping to get, not expecting your call, but hoping to hear from you again because you helped them out and you blessed them. Why wouldn't you call?
So well said, Mike. And chances are you help them get into a position where they've created a lot of wealth because real estate's been on a one-way train to higher values. And you could even celebrate that. Like, hey, I was just looking up the value of your house. Mike, do you know your house has gone up $187,000 since
Yeah.
we bought it together a couple years ago? That's a
Yeah.
pretty good icebreaker, by the way. Like,
100%.
we're back in a
100%.
relationship right then. You're
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. And then there are apps. I don't know if I think you guys spoke about like HomeBot and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
those things are fantastic because it's a monthly digest.
Yeah.
The one thing I was convicted of, and I'll be honest with this, is people respond in HomeBot, and I wouldn't respond to their emails. What's my, and what you should be doing is calling them. Hey, I got this email request from you. Dude, let's talk about this, man. Dude, wow, you got $500,000 in equity now. Wow.
Yep.
I didn't see that coming, did you? And, just kind of build that rapport from there.
100%. And do we still have that mortgage amount right? Did you make extra payments towards principals or anything we need to fine tune on this thing? What questions do you have for me about the market? Really quickly, I just wanted to share because you dropped a nugget there, Mike. I didn't want to go over too quickly, but you mentioned MBS Highway has added this strike rate tool.
Yeah.
If you have your NMLS number inside of MBS Highway, all you need to do is go over to Loan Advisor and Strike Rate. You'll see it right here. And all of your loans are already loaded in here. Now, these interest rates are estimates, so you might have to just click the button and say, no, actually, Robin was 6.99, right? Whatever. And then you can just set this alerts, these strike rate target alerts, so that on different size loans, when the estimated mortgage rates, which they just take these off of Fannie Freddie averages, when there's a delta between where the 30-year is and where the mortgage rate of your client is of whatever margin you set, boom, you're going to get an email. 3 clients just hit their strike rate. So you could even show clients this. Like, if you're on a Zoom meeting with them, you could say, this is how I'm going to proactively manage your mortgage for life. And I'm doing this with hundreds of clients. And what I know is sometimes mortgage rates drop for matters of hours and days. And by the time you see it in the headline and remember to call me, the rate's gone. So my job is to make sure that we never make that mistake. Let's set that strike rate.
I took notes on what you said. It's better than what I said, so I'm just going to use that.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
But the cool thing with MBS Highway, if I may, I use that, and I use that in my emails.
Mm.
So, hey, here's what we discussed. And you just snip it in the body of the email. They have that.
Ah,
And then,
here's
yeah,
what I set for you. I've already set it up. Here's a picture of it in my system. Now I'm monitoring it.
100%.
That's so good, dude.
Yeah.
That's a gem. That's
Yeah.
great. Okay. Mike, the reason why we're doing these stories of implementation and transformation is because we want to celebrate the people who are implementing in the community, not just learning in the community. So, what closing words of advice or wisdom would you have for community members who are digesting a lot of valuable content? Like we all learned this stuff from Tim and the rest of the faculty members and great members like you, but not everybody's implementing and executing the way you are. What wisdom do you have for those people?
Um, if you're paying for it, do it. Right.
Mm,
Like, I mean, you're paying for it. You might as well do it. And we all are, I mean, I'm 45 now, but I've been doing this 22 years. And I'm an older dog now, as someone said in the industry. I'm like, I don't feel old. I'm 45, right? And I know there's folks that are a little bit older than I am. But the idea is if you're looking to gain knowledge and gain expertise and continue to refine your craft, to sharpen your axe, if you will, then this is, I think, imperative because you're gaining wisdom. But if you could apply it, do it. And so much so that now I have, this is on my desk, the post-closing agenda. I went through the perfect loan process with my team. So we do a call on this every single month and we talk about what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, what we do better, and continue to apply it. And it's good stuff because some of the stuff you may hear variations of. We've been in previous coaching programs or we've coached people in the past, but where there's something very interesting about the loan analysis, that's the community. And that's why the community is there, which is why I like being such a part of it. Because if you're applying it, you will see the fruit of this. As Josh had said earlier, you'll plant that seed, you'll water it, it eventually bears fruit. Then you refine it, you continue to nurture it, it bears more fruit. And it's basically like farming 101. And if you do that, this system truly does work. I'm a huge advocate for it. And I'm just incredibly thankful and blessed to be a part of it.
I think there's no better way we could have possibly ended this time together than that comment. Thank you so very much. Thanks for being an implementer. Thank you for being a part of the Loan Atlas. And just thanks for being an awesome human, man. Like I've really
Thanks.
enjoyed our time connecting today.
Means a lot. Thank you so much.